Following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Welcome to the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweed.com. I'm Jeremy Greene. He's Brian Haynes. This is the Wicked Weed Studio. This is the Sportsocracy. This is our San Francisco 49ers three-round mock draft. The 49ers make an aggressive play to get up to 3 to get their quarterback of the future. Brian, what do you think they will do at number 3?
I think they're going to obviously draft quarterback. I would prefer that they draft Trey Lance, but of course everything we hear is going to be Mac Jones. Listen, this team is pretty well suited already. They don't have a lot of needs. It was tough for me to find some leads. The only thing I can see is some long-term situations in positions, especially the secondary. I think a lot of those guys are signed to one-year deals, so we could be drafting to see some longer-term, wait and see kind of fellas or whatever. But as far as they're going, they don't really have anything other than what they're going to do at quarterback.
There are 2 later picks. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
At 3, when the entire draft community agrees on something, I tend to believe it. I don't believe that they traded up from 12 to 3 to get Mac Jones. Everybody else seems to.
Yeah, I know.
And I will say, from a skills trait position, Mac Jones does fit this Kyle Shanahan offense very well, because what it predicates itself on is not turning the ball over, being accurate, getting the ball into playmakers' hands. Mac Jones can do that. My problem is exactly what I've heard Mel Kiper and several other people say. At no point did I watch Alabama this year and go, that quarterback's going to be the number 3 pick in the draft.
Right. He's not very mobile. That's his biggest knock. The NFL is kind of changing towards that dual threat, at least the ability to run a little bit. Mac Jones does not seem to have the ability to break the pocket and do damage to a team where he feels like he's that dual threat. Here's a couple things, though. The kid's very accurate. He's super intelligent. And his players, his teammates absolutely love him. And, it's got to go a long ways. Again, I really think Trey Lance is the thing, but if you're going to get Mac Jones, you're going to get a good kid who's willing to learn, and he's smart.
The good thing about Mac Jones, he's very calm in the pocket. Doesn't overreact to the blitz. That's my biggest knock on Justin Fields, which is why I think he'll be a bust in the NFL. The thing with Mac Jones is I don't think he's ever going to be – I think his floor is Andy Dalton and his ceiling is Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. It's hard for me to take a quarterback at 3 believing that.
Yeah.
If I was San Francisco, I would take Trey Lance.
Yep.
At the same time, Kyle Shanahan seemed to do a pretty damn good job in San Francisco pulling these strings, and I believe that he will continue to do so.
Absolutely.
With their second pick, I have them taking Richie Grant.
Okay.
Safety out of UCF. Here's basically how I can explain Richie Grant in a nutshell. If Richie Grant was 6'3", 215, he'd be a top 20 pick in this draft. Mm-hmm. He's not overly rangy, but he's very good in the box. He's very good at discerning plays. He's kind of he's a leader on the field, kind of a quarterback of the defense. This is a guy that processes very quickly. Grades for him, run defense, he's got a premier elite grade. Like I said, he's not overly rangy, but I think that can be taught, and it can be schemed around. This is a guy that would be a value pick at 43.
He was 3 times first-team all-conference. That's something to be said. I know it's UCF. It doesn't really matter to me. First-team all-conference 3 years in a row, that's awesome. He does struggle a little bit in man coverage, but he's a ball hog. The kid gets to the ball. He has several interceptions and forced fumbles. He likes to get to the ball. He finds the ball. He's got great vision to get to where the ball's going to be.
Did you say ball hog or ball hawk?
Ball hog.
Ball hog.
Yeah.
Ball hog.
Hog, H-O-G.
I thought that's what who usually sits in this chair was a ball hog.
Yes.
Something I've called Tank Spencer a time or two. With their third final pick in this 3-round mock, I have them taking Davion Nixon out of Iowa. The thing about him is he has really good feet, and his burst flash plays are tremendous. There's just not a ton of consistency. His high-end tape is as good as any interior defensive lineman in the NFL, in college football to me. But I just don't see that all the time. I think a few years in San Francisco, we know how San Francisco, and that's not going to change with D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
Just because Rob Saleh is with the Jets now, they're still going to use a ton of defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. And I see him being one of those guys that can come in, clog gaps. I really like this kid. I know it doesn't necessarily sound like I do. He has a very good base. He doesn't get knocked out of the play very often. It's just I wish there was more. I wish there was more substance as opposed to a lot of flash and then forget he's on the field for a while.
Yeah, listen, this kid's the first-team All-American Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. He excels in a 3 technique. He does very, very well. One of the knocks that's on him is that he drops his head as contact, so he loses the side of the play, and then he doesn't know what he's going to be doing after that. But he's a big kid, but he's that interior lineman. He is at 312 isn't really big, I guess, and that sounds crazy to say, but it's the truth.
He doesn't necessarily play as big as he's listed, and that's another thing that bothers me. He doesn't shed blocks, but he's a clogger.
Yeah.
And I think in San Francisco there's a merit to that. They've had an insane ability to get the most out of defensive linemen, and Davion Nixon's another guy that I think that will happen with in San Francisco. Live from the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. This has been our San Francisco 49ers 3-round mock draft. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you can see all of our content that's itemized by team on our playlist. We will also be live for every pick of the NFL draft, live from this studio as they happen. See you next time.